Are we live? Are we live? Hi, everyone. How is everyone doing? Can you hear me okay? I apologize in advance. This room's echoey. It is just going to be what it is. It's just echoey right now. It's basically empty. We're dealing with it. It's what's going on. I feel like my microphone is farther away than it was before, and I'm worried. I am worried. Okay, good. I just want to know, how is the sound? Is this like a good volume? Is it too quiet? I think I can maybe turn it up a little bit, but I don't want it to be like fully on screen. Anyways, I don't know. Yay, okay. I'm getting stuck on this carpet. Okay. I definitely need something in the background. I am figuring out how to do all that still. Is it just me or is it too quiet? Volume is good. I can turn it up a little bit more, but I'm probably going to get shouty if I rant about something. So before I turn down the volume, it's too quiet. You don't sound echoey. Okay, that's good at least. Bonus points for that. It's a little quiet. Okay, I'm getting either a little bit quiet or sounds good. But I feel like if I talk louder, it'll be more echoey. It's a little bit of catch-22. That's probably what it is. Let's see. I will turn it up. I'm just going to get rid. I had it at -2 decibels. I'm going to have it be at like minus half a decibel and just see how that is. Also, the internet here is bad. So, or not bad. I don't have fiber internet anymore, so everything is much worse by comparison. FYI, I think no data. That's great. Oh, I didn't let people know on Twitter that I'm streaming. I should let people know on Twitter that I'm streaming. All right. I'm also streaming. So this is new. I'm also streaming. I think normally I had it set at 24 frames per second, and I switch it to 60 frames per second on my camera. So I'm kind of curious if that makes a difference, if it looks better, or if there's a noticeable difference. I just felt like 60 frames per second was like too much detail. But maybe because like 24 frames per second is more like cinematic supposedly, but maybe I think Twitch streamers almost always do it. Oh god damn it, the stream's current bitrate is lower than the recommended. It was always too high before. Okay, is lower than the recommended bitrate. Recommended use a stream bitrate of 4,500 kilobits per second. Okay. Yes, your stream was great. Yes, I am glad. Yes. It's like I still have internet. Like, thank God it's not like satellite internet or some shit. But not having fiber anymore. I think it should be okay. I mostly, for streaming, it should be fine because I don't really do anything too fancy. But I'm worried about like uploading videos, like if that's going to just take so much longer. Where's the bandit? Probably by the door wanting to go outside. Most likely. She'll probably come visit later though. Okay, I'm going to link to people on the Twitters because I was watching Star Trek before getting ready for this. Did it come back just now? Genuinely, no idea what happened. That's a new one. I've never just had my microphone because it was still on. Like there's green lights up here, and the green lights were still on, but OBS decided it no longer liked my microphone. I hope that doesn't. That's not a new thing. It may just be this cable. I kind of pulled this cable out from a random pile of cords, so could be that. Yes, it is back. Yeah, magic cards did not work. No, sadly, no. It was back for a second. Yeah, I just switched to a different audio thing that's not... It would be like the built-in microphone for that camera. You guys would not be able to hear me from that in any level of detail, sadly. Yes, OBS is being interesting and fun today. Okay, now it's saying stream health is excellent, so I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Yes, it couldn't handle all of the cards. You guys can see there's like a little corner of a painting back there that'll probably be in the background as well. I'm kind of thinking having that painting up, and then I still want to do my lights and stuff, but I don't know where to put them now because I want to have that painting up. And then maybe I'm kind of thinking of taking, because this is a closet and I hate, it's one of those closets where the doors slide, but it jiggles on the bottom, like it rattles back and forth really bad. And so I'm kind of contemplating just taking that closet off the hinges and then just putting a curtain there. But there's not really a good spot. Maybe we should have like a lighting, like a tree or something back here. I don't know. If you guys have ideas for a setup, yes, the new place is very poggers. It is. I really like it. Listen, okay. I want to know how you guys are doing. Let me know what's been going on. I have been off of YouTube for much longer than I intended. To make a rather long story short, I've been looking for a new place to live for a while because Seattle has gotten crazy expensive. I just saw something, it was on Twitter. Was it for NPR? I want to say it's NPR. I just retweeted it. That was the median apartment or asking lets or asking rents, depending on if you're from the UK or not, for May. The median apartment ask for Seattle is over $3,000. So I just decided it wasn't like financially and like emotionally the place I really wanted to live anymore. So I moved. I moved to the greater Portland area. I'm not going to say where in Portland I am, but I basically just moved south. And it turns out it's way more affordable here than in good old greater Seattle. So that is where I am at now. It is beautiful. It's a wonderful rainy day. I'm sharing a house with some roommates, and it's been really nice. It's a house, not like an actual apartment. So that's a big difference. And there's a yard, which Bandit loves. There are squirrels to chase and birds and a beautiful garden. And like it's so nice, except for all the appliances are broken currently. So that's going to get fixed. Dishwasher doesn't work. The water dispenser on the fridge doesn't work. Like the water line to the fridge broke like the day after we moved it. So that's fun and exciting, getting all that fixed. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really good situation. The one thing though is getting everything set up, and I got COVID. That was fun. Literally, I think moving day was not this Thursday's and yesterday, but the Thursday before that. And on that Monday, I started getting really sick with COVID. I got symptoms kind of starting on Sunday, but it was just like a cough. And I thought I had gone to a party the night before that. And I did like cigar service and stuff when I was there. And so I assumed it was just because I had been around cigar smoke for the first time in like 2 years. And I was just having a bronchitis sort of reaction to that. No, it was COVID. It was an all vaxxed only party. It was all individual people that had been vetted by the homeowner. Like it was, because it was a house party. And I'm going to do a story time about that on Patreon because I have some things I want to share and I want to say. But I got COVID from that, and so I was really sick the days that we were moving, and I'm just like, I'm packing, and I can barely get anything done because I have to go up and down these stairs to load things into my car, but I can only, like, one flight of stairs just exhausts me, and it takes forever. And so, and then of course, because I got COVID, everyone else around me got COVID, which means we were all sick with COVID, and trying to move into this new place. And I think we're all mostly on the mend at this point. I think I think I'm probably, because I got it sort of the symptoms first, I'm sort of the most recovered out of everyone that ended up getting COVID, and like almost everyone that went to the party got COVID, and it was a hot mess. So I got COVID, I moved, and I didn't intend to not post a video for almost 2 weeks and not live stream, but it turns out when you're moving and you don't have internet and you have COVID, makes it really hard to post YouTube videos because of the way the internet in here is set up. It's not fiber. And so this room, none of the rooms upstairs, I think, actually were pre-wired for internet. So if you guys, maybe, I don't know if you can see, like in the background, there's like a really long cable that snakes out of this door to connect to the internet. So, it's good old fashioned construction going on here. So it's a little bit slapdash, but I'm glad that I could make it for today on this beautiful Friday afternoon. It is pouring rain outside, absolutely just pouring rain, but there's so many trees. It's so beautiful. And, yeah, it's been an adventure. And it was funny because I tested for COVID, like, when I very first started getting symptoms, and it was negative. And what I found is that it can turn positive so fast. Like, you can be in the middle of symptoms and still not test positive, which is kind of nutso to me, because I haven't really done a lot of rapid testing because I haven't gone to events that have required that. I just haven't gone to events, like, period. And I literally went from testing negative to testing positive with the exact same symptoms over the course of 12 hours. Like, it went from, like, the rapid test, they don't make you, but you have to wait 15 minutes to get a result, and I was testing negative, and nothing would show up, and then the time I tested positive. Literally within 3 seconds of putting the sample on the rapid test, it turned positive. Like, it was like, oh, you super have COVID. Like, it was not messing around that time, for sure. It was like, no, we know exactly what's going on here. But luckily I feel better. I still have a little bit of a cough. I feel kind of phlegmy still, which could also be seasonal allergies. At this point, I'm not really sure what thing is COVID and what thing is allergies and whatever else that's going on in my body. So, just glad to be back, hopefully. The one thing is that I feel like I feel like awake in the morning, and my sleep schedule is actually a lot better than it used to be. Like, now I'm waking up at like 8, 9 o'clock, which is really nice. But I feel like I can be really productive. And then like halfway through the day at like 2 p.m., I get super tired and I have to sleep for like 2 or 3 hours. So it's going to be interesting for filming stuff. I'm mostly editing at this point. I am preparing to make videos this coming week, hopefully. I think I have a setup that at least will work for temporary filming video stuff. But I have so many videos to edit that I've already filmed. And I want to get videos up that I filmed at the old place. I want to get those done and taken care of before except for one video. There's one video I want to do that I'm going to film here that'll be up before I'm done with all the videos from the old place, because I have like literally over a month worth of videos I filmed from the old place still that need to go up. So yeah, anyways, that's my life currently. What's going on with y'all? What's going on? Yeah, there's kind of a high false negative with the home test. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure about that. I know it's so weird to me. And like, I could have gotten COVID from a million places. It maybe wasn't that party because like I had to go to Home Depot to pick up moving boxes. I had to go to the post office to get my change of address taken care of and check my PO box. Like I had to go to places, and no one. And I live in the coastal liberal elite, like, part of the country, and even right here, no one wears a mask. Like literally no one. I'll see like one old person in a grocery store still wearing a mask. I'm usually the only person, and I was even wearing a mask still. And not like an N95 or anything because I can't find those, but like I was still wearing a mask. Honestly, because I'm very introverted, and so for me, I just like having the separation between myself and humanity, and I kind of like the anonymity of wearing a mask when I'm out in public, and not maybe having, especially if I'm running around doing moving stuff, I don't necessarily want random strangers on the street to recognize me. Not that I'm a big YouTuber, but you'd be surprised, it happens anyways. It still happens. So I like wearing a mask kind of regardless as just a fashion accessory, to be honest. Just, oh my gosh, you have a corgi puppy named Luke? That's so funny. That's so funny. I have a family member named Luke, and that's great. Well, sort of an in-law. Let's say that. I don't want to get too specific. I have an in-law named Luke. Ooh, positional vertigo. You know what I noticed is, um, I think it was one of the, maybe the second day had moved in, and one of my roommates was, they were putting other furniture, I think, and they were drilling on something. And I was trying to lay down to sleep still, and I could feel it in my inner ear on like one side. It was so weird. I don't know what that is, but I could feel like the pressure and like the oscillation from the drill in my ear, like in my inner ear. And I think there is like there's a name for it. There is an inner ear inflammation that can happen. And I was like, can you stop? Can I I need to be in a different part of the house if you're doing this. I mean, they're not requiring anybody to test, so that's not surprising. I mean, like, as long as you can find an N95 mask, like, I'm going to keep wearing them, again, because I like being anonymous in public. I like having separation between myself and other human beings. And just, like, why not, I guess? Like, I also like not being sick in general. I feel like if we could have a masking culture that was more like Japan or, like, East Asia, where you wear a mask because you're covering up a zit or because you have a cold or because it's allergy season, you don't want to sneeze on people. Like, I love that. I'm living by that motto, honestly. Like, it's not just about only preventing COVID, even if, you know, you can debate how effective, you know, masks are with current variants and things like that. But I just, in general, I like the concept. Although, you know, it is what it is. For P.O. Box, I should mention with the P.O. Box, my old P.O. Box does have a forwarding address set up for it. So if you did send me something in the recent, you know, either now or in the, you know, last month or so, that is getting forwarded to a new location, I don't have a P.O. Box number to give you guys yet because I need to actually go to the P.O. Box place. And like you have to give them 2 pieces of ID. They have to scan, and then there's like a USPS, like US like postal service form you have to fill out for opening any post office box, and you have to do it in person. And so I am definitely like well outside of quarantine period for COVID at this point, but I've been waiting until I felt totally better to go in and do it. So I think on Monday I'm probably gonna go down and get that taken care of and get my post office box set up and get you guys a new number and get that taken care of, because I have things that I'd like to send to a post office box as well. So yes, don't send anything. If you want to mail a letter, if you want to do that, just hold on for a hot minute. I will get you a new number, but it might take a minute just because you know, the bureaucracy of setting up a post office box. You cannot do it online, so that's fun. I sound as if I have a bad cold. Yeah, I definitely still feel phlegmy, for sure. All right. All right, so this is going to be a Q&A, so I feel like we should get into some Q's and some A's. So just because we've been talking about live stuff. So really quickly, this is an 18 plus only live stream. So if you are not at least 18, please do not be here. There are rules down below in the description box. I have seen from other people's live streams, there's like a way to pop up some kind of notice for when you join the chat of rules that you agree to. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And I don't know how other creators do that. There may be some sort of special feature that I haven't unlocked for some reason. I'm going to see if I can find that so it'll be easier. But there are just some basic guidelines. So just really, really quickly, I don't give advice on like how to do edge play, how to do breath play, how to choke somebody. If it's an edge play thing that requires in-person instruction, I cannot teach you how to do it on the internet. I generally have lots of FAQs, lots of things down below. If it's in the FAQ, I may not answer it. However, we haven't streamed for a little bit, so I may be benevolent and answer your more common FAQs if you ask it today. Please do not use this chat as a way to role play your fetishes. Please do not use this chat as a way to spam your location or spam at all or spam anything, because I will just block you. Please be careful about what you do choose to share in this chat and having that associated with your username, because these do stay up after they go live. So if you are using a name that somebody could find your Facebook account with and you're asking a question about BDSM, that may come back to you at some point in the future. So just be cautious. And just, you know, if you ask me a question about like, do you know about BDSM scenes? Do you know about dungeons in Duluth? I'm not going to know. Even if I did know, unless it is a nationally known organization that advertises and is like a big public event, I am generally not going to tell you, even if I do know, just because most of those events are private and are generally, you know, not something I would want to make the public aware of in a large scale way, especially given the current political climate of all different things going on. Oh, unofficial thoughts on the Depp trial. Some early details about the video coming up. Oh, I will absolutely answer that, Ellie. I feel like I'll get into that. I want to get through maybe a non-rant question first, because that might end up being a rant. But we will talk about that. We will definitely talk about that. And definitely just in general, I know I talked about COVID. I would like it if we could keep the political conversations to a minimum, just because it's a lot right now. There's so much going on. I want this place to be a space where we can chat about our relationships and kink and queerness and asexuality and all that wonderful fun stuff without getting bogged down into politics. If you want to talk about politics, there are 1,000,001 small political streamers that would love having you as a member of their audience, that would love having one more person on their Twitch stream trying to make it to partner. And if that's the mood you're in to talk about politics, I recommend finding one of those, because I will not debate you. You will not be invited via Discord for a debate. Would you ever consider bringing back cooking streams? I'm just thinking of logistically how that would work. I could probably, I mean, phones are good enough now, right? I could probably do something from my phone. It wouldn't be this whole setup, but I could. The kitchen that I'm in now definitely has like the lighting and windows and stuff. I had like a tiny apartment kitchen before. It was not an environment where I could like have a streaming setup, but I do have an island in this place. So I could probably either have a laptop with like maybe a little webcam on it or something, and like a little like a Blue Yeti or something, or a lav mic maybe, or I could just use my phone like an IRL streamer. Listen, if Hassan Piker starts doing cooking streams, I'll start doing cooking streams, because he's been promising to do cooking streams for like a year and a half. I don't think it's actually happened yet. Yes, sorry, I'm trying to go in order. I do try to answer questions in order, but we've been talking for so long already that I'm sure I've missed some. I did get while I'm looking for a question, I did get a really bomb smoothie today. That was like the highlight of my day. I found this new smoothie place, and I couldn't decide what I wanted, so I made my own, and it was kale, banana. I'm starting with the gross stuff first, and we're working our way up. Kale, banana, pineapple, and mango with orange juice and vanilla protein. And that sounds like it would be gross, but it literally just tasted like a tropical smoothie. And it tasted like banana and mango and a little bit of green. The flavor of green. The flavor of freshly cut grass. It was good. It was so good. I'm thinking about it right now because I don't have any water up here and I might be dying. Ooh, stuck in an airport. That's classic. I have not been stuck in an airport in a very long time, but you have my my sympathies and my condolences. Twitch versus YouTube, what works better? It depends. Okay, so scroll to the top of the chat. I'm sure I missed people, but I feel like YouTube. But it depends, because Twitch is kind of ran by a cabal of like 20 people, I feel like, and they arbitrarily decide what to enforce and when not to enforce something, and that can either work in your favor or not. YouTube, however, I think I like better overall, just because Twitch is really restrictive with like, oh, if you want to be a partner, you can't stream those other platforms, and YouTube doesn't give a shit. YouTube's just happy that you're on their platform and using it, and they don't try and like bogart it so that way you only stream on their platform, and that's really the main difference for me. And also like my majority of my audience is on YouTube, so there's also that. Listen, figuring out where to eat at the airport is a very important question. My favorite airport that I've ever been through is when I didn't even go through an airport, I think. It was the train. How did that work? It was from London to Amsterdam, and it was like this shared station that was a train station, and like it was like basically a big metro hub that we went through. They had the best vending machine food. It's like you walk through, and the first thing I saw, I'm hungry. My brain thinks it's 6 p.m. at night. And the first thing I see is like a fresh salad and rolls and smoothie vending machine. And I was like, this is awesome. Like in America, you're gonna get like some combos and some Frito-Lay chips that are like 5 years old, and they're gonna cost you $20. And it was like, I love it. That may just have been the perfect combination of hungry and tired and availability more so than actual quality, but that was my experience. No worries. If you just want to lurk, you don't have to ask any questions, but we love the interaction. Oh, I'll go to Twitch because they support picture-in-picture on the phone app. Oh, I use YouTube Premium because I don't want to get ads when I'm like reacting to a video. It's really my primary motivation. That's a good point. That is a good point. Okay, I'm at the point where everyone says they can hear me, so that's good. Okay, they said they already moved. I'm not streaming to Twitch. I am only streaming to YouTube. I know. I'm in a different room now. My bed's not in the background anymore. I don't even think it's going to be in the background of my... Have no fear. We still have the Friday night motorcycle guy, apparently. He's followed me here. I was supposed to the first time. I've heard cats yowling like they do in like old movies about New York, where it's like a, you know, like those old noir movies where it's like a guy walking down an alleyway and you just hear a cat go meow like really loud. I swear to God, every night if I have my window open, I hear a cat do that. Like it sounds like just like I don't think it's dying, but like it's fighting something. I'm pretty sure. I don't know what. But there is loud motorcycle guy, so you know, some things never change. Yeah, I don't think my bed's going to be in the background of my videos either. Based on the way things are set up. That might change. I think what I'm going to do instead is my dresser is going to be the background, and I'm going to have things on the dresser. So I'm going to have like little decorative items and pictures and stuff like that. But that's a tentative plan at this point. Okay, luckily my audio's not locked out again. Okay, knock on wood, knock on wood. It is already carpeted, but this room is literally just empty. So I will put up sound panels for sure. I just haven't done that yet. So it is on the to-do list. Don't worry. It is being done. But you know, it's basically just desk, and then you guys can't see it, but my makeup storage is all right there as well. So that's the only thing that's in this room. No Christmas tree. Well, when the time comes, when it is Christmas time, that would be a really good spot. Although it's right next to the door, so it'd have to be a really small Christmas tree. But yeah, good point, good point. My trainer wants to turn this into a research paper because it hasn't been studied academically. I mean, that's not like like a case study. That could be interesting. Ooh, 5 vacations. That sounds awesome. Ooh, vacation to a remote cabin on a river in the mountain with friends. That sounds very relaxing. I love that. I can picture the bird song. I can picture it now. Whew. Yeah, chronic illness is really, really hard, Christina. I definitely feel you on that. I wasn't even too worried about getting COVID itself. I've mostly been worried about getting long COVID. But, you know, at this point, it's out of my hands. It's up to the universe whether or not that dice gets rolled, you know? Yosemite. I've been through Yosemite, I think, before, and I remember it being nice. There's lots of bison, and it's very, very cute. Welcome. We love new people. We love new people in the chat. Please say hello and such like. Yes, my roommates definitely. Everyone knows about the YouTube. The kinkiness and the YouTubeness is very open. It would be very hard to explain how I'm able to pay for rent otherwise. So, yes, all is transparent. Ooh, hello and aloha from Hawaii. Hopefully you're doing well in Hawaii. I've seen it on the news. It's kind of a rough time over there. Wishing you the best. Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed the stream of consciousness video. The one about, what was that? Was it service versus control? I think, actually had Rainbow Caldera comment on one of my videos recently too, and I was like, what? Actually, I should see what he commented. I haven't checked my YouTube comments in a hot minute, because sometimes I get in moods where my comments traumatize me. I don't want to check them, because I'm like, especially right now, because I've recently posted about the connection between Evan Rachel Wood and Amber Heard, which I feel like was just a very objective video. Like, I just laid it out. Here's how Marilyn Manson and Johnny Depp are friends. Here's the proof of any connection between Amber Heard and Evan Rachel Wood. Here's the one photo of them together. Here's every instance of them talking about each other on social media and in the press. That's all there is. I don't think they're friends. That's the long and short of it. That was really the whole point of the video. And inevitably, you get people that are like, you didn't watch the trial. I literally watched every second of that fucking trial. I woke up at 6 a.m. Okay. I watched the whole trial. I remember what happens during it. I'm not stupid. And so, but I get a bunch of people that just say the most absolutely like crazy things still, because they don't watch the video, and then they say shit like, Evan Rachel Wood is the next Amber Heard. We're gonna take that bitch down. And sometimes when you're dealing with COVID and you're moving, you don't want to read that shit. You're like, you know what? That comment can hang out there for as long as it wants to, I guess. But I originally popped over here because I wanted to see. I know Raven Caldera at least commented on one of my videos, and I had like a fangirl moment because I was like, oh my god, you commented on my video. Oh yeah, it was the one I did on alignment of will, which is funny because it's not about something that he wrote. It was like, wait, I made a video where I talked about a thing that you said. I've talked about your books for years. I love Raven. I hope that he ends up coming out to this neck of the woods at some point. It'd be really great to take a class from him directly. Anyways, that's my nerd moment. Welcome to the Nerd Corner. Inner ear problems just mess with your brain, I feel like. And I used to have earaches a lot as a kid. I guess that's an allergy thing. I used to get earaches a lot, and so it's sort of like that is the thing I've had to deal with. Ooh, pretzel buns are nice. Oh, it's about harmonics. Oh, I didn't know that. That makes sense. I mean, because that's how your ears work, right? They work on this, like, instant, like, you get the vibrations happen in your ear. Although, I don't know, do we actually know that, or is this, like, a theory we have? I'm not sure how scientifically proven we've done this, but isn't that how it works? Is, like, this, like, sound waves go through your ear, and then that gets sent to your brain, and then your brain interpolates the meaning of the sound waves and turns it into something that you can, like, consciously recognize? Is that how it works? It's been a long time since I took any kind of... See, my extent of knowledge about this comes from the perception chapters of psychology textbooks. So that is about all I know about it, sadly. I've had sort of a start-stop endurance issue. While I'm doing something, I'm fine even for long walks. But when I stop, sometimes I feel the energy just drain away. Yeah, I feel like for me, it's more of a time thing. Like, I can get, especially when I first wake up in the morning, I feel like I can get a lot done. And then by, like, early afternoon, I start to get really tired and I have to sleep or, like, lay down for a while. That may also just be that, like, I think I just need to kind of recharge my batteries in terms of like vitamins and minerals and stuff, because I feel like just with moving and with COVID and everything, I feel like all my vitamin stores got drained away. So I'm going to be doubling up on the multivitamin and all that and kind of see if that does anything, because I think that might be part of it. Yeah, there's all sorts of weird things that can happen with COVID for sure. I just ship all my packages to my neighbors and they go pick it up from them. They hate it. I mean, that is, does that count as mail fraud? I don't know. Ooh, okay, good question, Twixie. Have you ever had trouble submitting to a new partner using honorifics used to my ex just feel wrong when I all then to her, I guess. Yeah, so I definitely experienced this. I've definitely gone through this was years ago. I went very quickly from one power exchange relationship to another power exchange relationship. And it wasn't that I couldn't necessarily, I think it's pretty much what you're describing. It wasn't necessarily that I couldn't like submit to that person. One, they were new, and so the submission that was happening was like relatively shallow. But the title, I had to pick a different title at first. So if you I would maybe come up with some alternative titles that you can use for like now, as you're kind of mentally separating from that previous relationship and forming this new relationship with this new person. And then if you want to re-experiment again and re-add in those other honorifics and like switch to those when they feel right, that's probably what I would do. And that's what I've done before in my other relationships, is like something that's more specific to the person, and then adding in those more like general titles. So like if it's like ma'am or sir or something, I think that can get really tied to one partner, but eventually you can kind of detangle from that. But it just takes some time, I think. I think there's nothing wrong with like using a different title or a different honorific as like a placeholder when you're still developing that relationship, for sure. Or sometimes it's just like a totally different title makes sense, right? Because, every power exchange relationship is different. And maybe in your previous relationship, it was more of like an MS thing and they were the master, or they were your owner, or they were your whatever, right? And now this new relationship is a daddy or a mommy, and they're totally different. And so different honorifics and different titles make more sense. So that's also something to consider as well, is like, is this even a similar enough relationship in terms of style to the previous one where you need to use the same honorifics anyways? So things to think about. Okay, we have come to the thoughts on the Depp-Heard trial. So we're going to do that. We are going to, yes, I mean, I'm vegan, so I have to supplement, but, sometimes it's like, sometimes you gotta put a little extra in there, sometimes you gotta, bump it up. Because I had my vitamins packed away and, in my kitchen stuff and moving stuff like the whole time I had COVID. And so now I'm trying to play catch up, because for like 2 weeks I didn't take any vitamins at all. And I feel like I definitely felt it, Anyways, the Depp Heard video I'm working on. And I'm kind of worried at this point that everyone's over it and is sick of talking about it. But I feel like there's a really interesting angle. And I mean this in the journalistic sense of the term angle. Not like in terms of what sort of thing are you focusing on in the story. Not like the slant of the video as though it's biased in one direction or the other. The thing that I think is really interesting that people haven't explored is I feel like there's two very different narratives that pop up when people are talking about the trial, and I think it's worth observing each one of those and seeing where each one of those perspectives come from. Because on the one side, I think, especially for social media, the very dominant narrative has mostly been steered by large influencers, by lawyers, by professional psychologists, commentating on the trial, and then also people spreading memes. So there's like sort of this two-tiered system on the social media angle of things, where it's people that are professionals and observing things based on their professional credentials and talking about, objections and rules of evidence and the history of the trial and, is the judge making fair calls or unfair calls, and, talking about, hey, what's, does this really fit in with what is defined as borderline personality disorder? Does this person's clinical observations make sense with mainstream psychological thoughts? Like, there's I'm surprised it took this long into the stream for me to cough, to be honest. Excuse me. Um, excuse me. And so they're really kind of focusing on that angle of it. And then there's the other layer of social media that's kind of connected to that in this interesting way, where it's people, especially on TikTok, let's be honest, they'll kind of trickling down onto Twitter and onto Instagram from TikTok. People making memes about the trial, people, doing joke videos, pretending to be Amber Heard, pretending to be Johnny Depp, people mocking experts that were on the stand, like really just making kind of like somewhere between lowbrow SNL skit to outright mockery levels of commentary about the trial. And this, I think in my mind, sort of going into this deeply inappropriate territory considering the subject matter. But what's interesting is the people that are doing those things, especially people that are going into the territory of like, Amber Heard deserves to be R-worded in prison. The only work that Amber Heard's going to get now is from a casting couch from a porn studio, mocking sex work, making fun of SA in the penitentiary system, like just really, really awful stuff. And they are enabled in justifying their behavior by going, hey, look, these are the lawyers I watch. These are the psychologists that I watch. And they said my opinions are okay. And there is no responsibility, no sort of with the exception, I think, notably of Emily D. Baker, who has always done a really good job with her audience with communicating expectations about behavior and commentary. But there's the vast majority, I'd say 95% of people that are brand new to social media, that are people who are, again, professionals, lawyers, psychologists, that either tacked on this content to their existing content, or they join social media just to commentate about this. Even though they're having 50K plus concurrent viewers on a stream and they're making videos that get millions of views, like there is no responsibility or communication to their audience about like, hey, don't make jokes that like women deserve to be like correctively R-worded. Don't make jokes about, prison sexual assault. They don't talk about anything like that. And I find that really frustrating. That these people who are very professional, that are literally kind of, and this is also part of what I studied in school, which is sort of why my brain's on this track, is like science and technology studies is one of the subject areas that I took. It wasn't my degree, but it was like a coursework sort of path that I did a lot with, was sort of how expertise and science influence policy decisions and influence public opinion, and how it's used as like a bargaining chip to sort of persuade public opinion in certain directions or another. Anyways, it's just very interesting to me that they do, like, if you try to point out to these people at all that like, hey, these Johnny Depp stans, which is not everyone, but these Johnny Depp stans that have Johnny Depp stan accounts that, they're like K-pop fans on Twitter basically, that are saying these horrible things and making horrible sexist jokes and using Amber Heard as an insult, as like her name is an insult. To be compared to her is intended as an insult. Could you maybe tell your audience not to do things like that? Could you maybe not read super chats out loud that like basically insinuate that Amber Heard deserves to, have these horrible things done to her, or that women like her deserve to have things done to them that are horrible? Because I'm of the political persuasion where I don't know exactly where I fall on the spectrum of like, of exactly what to do about, the justice system, but I'm much more of a prison abolitionist, and like I believe in, reform, and I believe in helping people with their problems. I believe in trying to help people become better members of societies and get help for the things that need healing, not just punishing people, especially sexually, for crimes. And I find that to be very gross, that there's sort of, that's the commentary professionally is fine, letting your professional credentials speak for themselves and having that be streamed is fine. But the sort of behavior that's been enabled by those audiences that those creators are not taking responsibility for, I find to be very, very frustrating. And when you try to bring it up, they get so fucking mad. Like, if any sort of news article, any sort of social media post says anything negative about the coverage that like one of these lawyers has done, or points out some of the inappropriate stuff that has come out from like social media memes, like they just get really mad about it and go like, well, Amber Heard's a liar, so whatever, I'm just here dissecting what the facts are, it's not my fault. And it's like, can you please just take a little bit, just like a smidge of responsibility? Because at this point, it isn't really about who's right or wrong. It's not really about like, oh, Amber Heard was innocent, Johnny Depp was innocent, they were both guilty, they were both innocent. Like, it isn't that's the part that matters. It's the conversation and the public opinion towards a certain group of people in general that's being enabled and facilitated, because a lot of this has been piggybacked onto by people on the far right, but people that are deeply anti-feminist, that really hate women, that believe all women are liars first, and are going, okay, well, look, this one woman lied. We're going to use this as a PR thing to prove our point that women can't be trusted, that women are all liars, and they're all crazy bitches, and anyone that has any kind of mental health issue can't be believed. Because it's also spinning out into that as well, because a big part, because Amber Heard claimed that she had PTSD as part of the trial, she had a mental health evaluation by multiple different professionals. Like, there are like 5 different mental health professionals involved in this trial at the least that actually testified. And because there was one of them that sort of created a theory that, and I'm using the term created the theory because I don't think that's actually a formal diagnosis that would go on like insurance paperwork, but the theory that she came up with based on like psychological, like psychometric testing that was done, was that Amber Heard probably had some combination of histrionic and borderline personality disorder, and that has led to a huge amount of stigma. Huge amount of stigma online. First of all, why can't people tell the difference between bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder? Like, they get them, like, one is a mood disorder, one's a personality disorder. They are in completely different sections of the DSM. I think it's possible that some people possibly get misdiagnosed as one from the other, but in terms of like what they actually are, how they function in the brain, they're very different. Just because they both have the letter B in them does not mean they're actually the same disorder. That doesn't make any sense. It's like confusing, and this isn't to say anything about the severity of them relative to each other, but it's like confusing cancer with a cold, because they're both different types of illnesses and they start with the same letter, which is C. Like, they're not that similar. And so you get people now that are like, you know, that's been the thing. I've seen this a couple of times on social media for Pride Month, is like, all women are bi. You just have to find out if it's polar or sexual, as like a dig about Amber Heard being an out bi woman. And that's anything. There's a whole layer of biphobia, and this is a whole leather of queer of a whole layer of queer phobia that's also kind of baked in as part of this, which kind of, you know, goes to prove, right, that like women like this can't be trusted because look at her and she's this, that, and the other. And it's like, her orientation has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not she's guilty or innocent. That is a really weird thing to focus on. I feel like why is that a thing we're having a primary conversation about? Like, it's just, oh my God. It's just so nuts. So anyways, to get back to the point of what I want to talk about in the video, is there's this perspective on social media from lawyers and psychologists and people that sort of trusted their word and used those words as a way to justify their own social media behavior, inappropriate or otherwise. And then there's what is coming out from journalistic outlets, a lot of which is critiquing the social media circus around this trial from you know, people streaming for, and I see the super chat, so don't worry. You know, the seeing the trial coverage for 12 hours a day, people that are professional lawyers that already make 6 figures easily in their professional day jobs, also making tens of thousands of dollars per day live streaming the trial. Taking money from people that leave comments like Amber Heard is a crazy bitch, or women like this are a crazy bitch. And that's just like, that's how they're fine. They're fine taking money for that, which I personally find to be a little bit weird. And then getting like, and again, it's like the lawyers getting upset. Like, people point out that they made lots of money from streaming the trial. And again, even though most of these people are all already independently wealthy because they're lawyers, they're already like the petite bourgeoisie, right? Like they're already like at minimum upper middle class people that live relative lives of affluence compared to most people, and they're taking people's $5, $10, $50, $100 for super chats. And as far as I know, the vast majority of them did not donate anything to charity. If they did a separate live stream at the end of the trial afterwards to raise money, but they kept and pocketed all of the rest of the money leading up to that point. And I know what it's like, especially because a lot of these people had relatively small channels or didn't have one at all prior to this trial coverage. I know the temptation of like seeing those dollar signs and seeing that money add up in Google AdSense on your account and being like, damn, I want that. But anyways, I've been misdiagnosed with bipolar, having BPD. There's a lot of overlap with symptoms. I mean, I think there can be. Personally, this is like I've had multiple people in my life that both have bipolar disorder and other people that have had borderline. And to me, the way that my friendships and my interactions with them have gone have been very different. And that's, I think but again, it's also like there's especially for borderline, there's such a wide checklist of items that you can pick from in order to qualify for a borderline personality diagnosis that like some things are going to be much, depending on what combination they're in, they're going to be a lot more like bipolar than maybe somebody else's presentation of borderline that maybe doesn't have as much symptom overlap. So, and I think especially with women, it's more common to misdiagnose bipolar is borderline and vice versa. Like for some reason of the personality disorders, like borderline is the one that they like to give to women for some reason. I'm like, listen, that's the female problem. Because it's also like that's what the statistics are, but it's like because we live in a society that has certain gendered expectations about emotions and trauma and the way that people deal with those things and present things, things that for other genders would be diagnosed as something else, like narcissistic personality disorder, or maybe even histrionic, or might even be considered pathologic or deviant or interrupting somebody's life in some kind of meaningful way that would constitute getting a personality disorder diagnosis. Like there's so much stigma around it. There's so much like sexist misconceptions or assumptions about the way that people are supposed to deal with emotions and trauma, and even especially when it comes to sort of the high-risk behavior part of borderline personality disorder, in terms of, high-risk sexual behavior or drug use or, seeking those kinds of experiences out. I think there is potentially an element of overdiagnosis for women for borderline personality disorder, just knowing that sexism in medicine is very much alive and well. And also, like, the diagnosis criteria that we have are kind of just a best guess. Like, these aren't divinely inspired by God. It wasn't like he's like, here's the 10 commandments and also here's the DSM, It wasn't like these were beamed down in a perfect form of like, this is exactly how it should be and this is the exact diagnosis it should be. Like, as time goes on, as we've seen, for example, with the combination of autism and Asperger's into autism spectrum disorder, I'm sure over time we are going to see more modifications and changes to the way that we diagnose and label certain conditions and disorders. So anyways, that's my DSM hot take. Yeah, it is definitely, it's very much a circus. But anyway, so the point is there's sort of the journalism component of it, which is sort of like pointing out how much money, because I watched these streams, right, and I could tabulate in my head as somebody that also does this as a job. I could figure out how much money they were probably taking home at the end of the day, and I'm sure Social Blade has done the same as well, as a rough estimate, on top of the AdSense they're getting from recordings of live streams, on top of the AdSense they're getting from, weekly summaries or daily summaries of the trial, on top of the AdSense they're making or the money they're making from other social media platforms where they're cross-promoting. Like, they're making thousands of bucks a day on that trial. Easily. They're making at least $2,000. For a slow day, where the only thing you're counting is the super chats they got in that day, over $2,000 easily. And that's after YouTube takes 30%. So like they're, 6 weeks of trial, they're coming home with what is most people's like 2-3 years worth of income just on ad revenue and super chats. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. They're making really, really good money doing that. And you know what? being a lawyer takes a lot of schooling, takes a lot of hard work. I had friends from when I was in high school that decided to go into law, and at the time when I graduated, I don't know if this is still true, the law market is really soft. So really hard to get in a job where if you want to be a litigator, you want to be a lawyer, you want to go to court, finding the internships, finding the jobs, finding the associate partner level stuff, once you get your JD, like all of that is really, really difficult. And it's like law school's expensive. Like I get it, but these are people that were like well established in their career and probably got into the law market at a time when it was a little bit more, well, a little less competitive, I guess, easier to get into those better paying jobs. But like, anyways, they got insulted that people would point out that they made lots of money. It's like, you're a streamer. You stream all day, every day. You're making insane money on super chats. You're making insane money on subscriptions and people. What is that on YouTube that people do? Join the YouTube community, because you can, like, for $5 or whatever a month, you can join somebody's YouTube community. And that's another way to sort of give people money on a consistent basis within YouTube. Like, it's like, I don't know, just don't be insulted that people figured out with their own eyeballs that you made lots of money on a trial and then you didn't donate any of that money and then you just kept it for yourself because it was a good money making opportunity. Like, I don't know why you were so mad about that for. It's just the truth. Like, they got, they got mad at journalists pointing out that they, either didn't really do a whole lot for their own communities in terms of like, encouraging responsible behavior and commentary, or pointing out that people made a lot of money, or stuff like that, and yeah, I don't know. So but at the same time though, it's almost like there's two different worlds that exist, and this is the interesting part. This is kind of getting the interesting part to me. Is there's the world of the trial that is existed on social media, which is primarily again steered by people that are psychologists, psychiatrists, lawyers. I think there's probably even people that are cops that probably commentated on this as well, though I think the people that I saw were ex-cops that turned out to be lawyers, which is the scariest combination in the world to me. But feeling about Leos aside, that was one side of the social media perspective on Depp-Heard, and then there was the journalistic side, which is either commentating on the commentary of the trial and the social media response and the absolutely insane shit that was being said on Twitter and TikTok, and the mockery and the use of things as an insult and doxing people, and just and covering stories of people saying like, hey, now I'm scared to talk about my abuser. Like, I was planning going to the police and now I'm not going to. And talking about people that legitimately are now scared into the closet of not wanting to talk about their abuse experiences because they don't want to be labeled as the next Amber Heard, because they don't want to experience the social media harassment, because the people who abuse them are now threatening to sue them because Johnny Depp got away with it. Again, regardless of if you think Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, innocent, guilty, whatever combination in that you think, the result has been, regardless of how the trial played out, regardless of the actual truth of the situation at hand, doesn't matter, the effect that the trial had, because of the way it was talked about, the way it was publicized, resulted in a chilling effect on people not wanting to talk publicly about their abuse experience, not wanting to talk publicly about their abuse experiences, not wanting to even talk to law enforcement or consider legal action against their abusers. Abusers feeling enabled to be able to, scare especially their female victim partners into silence. I think if I had to guess, this is more of a win for male victims, because I think the dominant narrative has been that Johnny Depp is innocent and he's a male victim of DV, and I don't really think I don't really think sexual assault allegations came up against Amber Heard in the trial, but there was so much that was said I could be not remembering that particular part of it. But as a male victim of DV, I think that's more of a win, and so I don't think there's as much of a chilling effect for that gender experiencing partnered violence. But certainly for women, there is this very distinct threat that I have seen many, many, many people talk about in private and social media. People I know that are survivors themselves, that have chosen to stay private and have said, I feel vindicated in my decision now because look what would have happened to me if I would have spoken out. Or now if I try to speak out, this is what everyone's reaction is going to be. And I've seen that happen in real time in my own videos, right? Like, people have that reaction to Evan Rachel Wood. They say that she is the next, Amber Heard. She's just like Amber Heard. They're best friends. They plan this together. She's a big liar, blah, blah, blah. Even though their cases are totally different, involve different people, happened at a different time, and involve completely different allegations and different evidence. So I think there is definitely a chilling effect that happened, and we're going to end up seeing what those ramifications are eventually. I don't know what they're going to be long term at this point. You know, people are sort of declaring it the end of the Me Too era, I suppose. And I think a lot of people have been trying to kill the Me Too movement for a very long time. I personally don't really put a lot of stock in phrases like cancel culture or Me Too. I just really don't care. But I do care about individual people feeling like they can't speak up. I do care about individual people feeling like they are scared into silence, or their abusers have that as a weapon and as a threat, even though legally this is a single civil trial case in a state court. There's no sort of legal precedent that has been set that means that a judge in California now has to, this isn't a Supreme Court case, right? There's no sort of like legal reason that a judge is going to look at that case and go, well, in Virginia, this random other judge and this random other jury said this thing, so no, I'm going to say this. Like, that's not really what happens, but publicly it affects how people behave to even decide to bring things. I did see, I got a question in Super Chat, sorry, I know I was rambling, asking about Shibari Study. I totally recommend Shibari Study as a resource. I think it's definitely worth the money. They have a lot of really good resources on there. They do have a YouTube channel where they do kind of previews and maybe some just outright kind of simpler tutorials on there. It's certainly not the only resource out there. I do also recommend, I like Crash Restraint. I like Bondage Tuition. The Duchy. Rope 365. There's a bunch of resources out there for Shibari stuff, but definitely if you like really well-produced video content for following ties, that is a really good one. So I definitely recommend Shibari Study. It's legit. They have legit people on there that know what they're talking about, and it's a really good resource. I have always waffled about wanting to do memberships or not. I thought about it, but like they don't really offer any features for giving memberships. Like there's not really like, ooh, you get to use fun. Like it's basically you get to use special emojis. Like that's and I think that's really, although I think you could do members only live streams, but because I already have Patreon, like if you guys want to support me, into Patreon's just as easy, you know. And YouTube takes a lot of money, like way more than Patreon does, which is the other thing. YouTube's like, we're gonna take a cool 30% of all that, just little sip off the top there, a little cool 30%, and Patreon's like 5%. So if you want to actually not give Google money and give YouTube money, that is what I would go for, is Patreon. That's really, I think, the most fair option out of anything. Let me see. There was something else I was thinking of with the Depp-Heard stuff. So yeah, it's sort of like, I think it's worth sort of examining, because I think the legal and primarily reaction to the journalistic side of the trial and the way that people have talked about like the chilling effect that it's had on survivors, the way that it's enabled people that are legitimately abusers to be like, listen, you're not going to be believed because look what happened to Amber Heard. I'm going to destroy you legally. I'm going to sue you for defamation if you talk about me on Facebook. I'm going to sue you for defamation if you blah, blah, blah. Like, because you have to realize, even if the defamation lawsuit is bullshit, even if it gets taken down in court, like first hearing with a judge, the amount of time and money it takes to even get in front of a judge once is bananas, because lawyers charge, a cheap one is like $400 an hour. So if you are somebody that is already part of a disadvantaged community, because there's a really good video from somebody called, I think it's Princess Weeks, who I should know how to pronounce her name because I watch her videos all the time, but it's Weekes. So Weeks, Wex, don't know. And like you have to remember, like a lot of the stuff is going to disproportionately affect already people that are already, not believed by law enforcement, people that are already disadvantaged. And like you might be able to cobble together $1,000 to retain a lawyer to be able to get you in front of a judge to say this defamation lawsuit is bullshit. But that's $1,000. And especially after the pandemic, especially the way the economy is going right now, a lot of people don't have money for that. And a lot of people would rather just not speak out and not risk having to retain a lawyer to legally fight their abuser in court. And I think that's going to be an effect that we see for a long time. And I think sort of the response has been from legal commentators is that, well, it shouldn't matter because Amber Heard was a liar, and if you're telling the truth, you have nothing to worry about, which is, of course, the response that a lawyer would have, because in order to be a lawyer, you have to have faith that the justice system works, unless you're a defense attorney, and then you know it's bullshit. So the only legal advice I am willing to take at this moment about whether or not there is going to be a chilling effect on survivors is from defense attorneys. Because if you're a prosecutor, if you work for the DA's office, if you're primarily a litigator, of course you think that the justice system primarily gets things right, primarily has a proportionate response in the public when there's a big public trial, because if you believed otherwise, you probably wouldn't have become a lawyer. Whereas from my perspective, and I'm not saying this is the case here, juries get things wrong, social media responses can be wildly out of proportion, and people can act irrationally or disproportionately to very big public trials because a lot of people don't really know how the legal system works. And even just the threat of something legally happening, and again, I've seen evidence of this happening, certainly lots of people sharing stories publicly and privately of like, this is why I'm never going to talk about my abusers because they threatened to sue me, and now they feel even more emboldened to do that. It doesn't actually matter if the correct outcome in the court case happened, because that's still the effect that it's having psychologically on people. So, anyway, sorry about the Depp-Heard. I just think it's so interesting. Like, I've been so mad, like, watching like legal professionals being like, well, actually the truth came out, and so there's no reason why real victims should be worried about getting sued for defamation, because if they're telling the truth, they have nothing to worry about. And I'm like, most people can afford to pay your retainer, sweetie. Sweaty, sit down. People cannot afford to pay your $2,000 legal retainer to write a fuck off note in response to a pending defamation case. Like, it's like lawyers are out of touch with, maybe that's why they don't care about making money off of super chats, because for them it's just chump change. Like, they just like, whatever, I make that much money for a retainer. I say this because before I did YouTube full time, I worked with lawyers, and they're expensive as shit. Like, I didn't work at a law firm or anything, but I worked kind of in a field where occasionally there would be overlap with legal stuff, and so like we would end up with a lot of I would just see like the contracts they'd have with clients, or I'd have a client I was working with where they were also working with a lawyer, and then I'd see like, you know, oh, I have to pay my retainer for my lawyer, and then it'd be like a couple $1,000, and you'd be like, what the? I'm not getting that much money, like, you know. And again, just for really really simple stuff, not even anything super complicated, not anything super, you know, time sensitive even necessarily. Just sort of, you know, pay me $2,000 and then I'll write a letter for you. That's really the long and short of it. And like a lot of people can't deal with that. So, I mean, again, I lived in a small town. I worked in a small town, so I don't even know what big town like LA lawyer prices are. I'm talking about these are podunk middle of the woods family law practice lawyer prices. So just imagine how much it is if you're in Chicago or LA or New York or somewhere, right? Unfortunately, many victims don't and won't really get justice. Exactly, because it all depends on the law, right? Like, and this is the thing, is I think, you know, you have to recognize this, that the law kind of is supposed to follow our morality and ethics, but the law doesn't always keep up with where those morality and ethics and understandings are. And so you have things that are very arbitrary that get in the way of actually pursuing justice in a meaningful way. You know, the statute of limitations is a really big deal for a lot of people because they are scared for years to come out against their abusers. They're afraid because they have a young family, right? They have an infant, they have a toddler or something, and they don't feel safe having their baby potentially threatened. Or, you know, they spend years trying to recover from the abuse they experienced, and it takes them that long to get their life back together, to be financially able, to be emotionally stable enough, to be able to talk about things, to deal with potential legal ramifications from stuff like this, to be able to pursue something in the court system. And so, like, you know, the statute of limitations gets in the way. There's lots of things that are huge impediments to actually pursuing justice that have nothing to do with the actual merits of the case itself. And that's really sad. Exactly. It's more about like protecting like property and like again, it totally depends. Like, you know, I personally think it was kind of legal fiddle faddle to be able to move this court case to Virginia because the presses for the Washington Post, who was not a party of the lawsuit, were based in Virginia, even though neither one of them lived in Virginia currently or at any point in time. And it's like the reason they did that is because of the way that the defamation law works in Virginia compared to California. Like, it's like, you can say that the outcome for the case is correct, but the fact there had to be all that noodly snaky bullshit to be able to get a case to be in a completely different state than any of the allegations took place in, that either party resides in, that any party of the lawsuit at all has ever been in, except for the presses of the Washington Post, which is not a party of the lawsuit, but is part of the op-ed that Amber Heard wrote, which is one of the matters I had in the trial. And so it kind of feels like, why they, like, this would have potentially played out very differently had it been done in California. So, you know, that's also part of it as well, right? Is what your ability to get justice, your ability to get your voice heard completely depends on where you are in the country. Completely depends on the laws of the state that you're in. And depending on what's happened in that state previously, depending on what the laws actually say, you can have, you know, what might be a situation you could get justice for in one state is a complete non-starter in the next state over. And, you know, it was just luck of the draw, really. And what kind of legal fiddle-faddle you can get through to get your court case moved to a completely different state. Like, you know, it's like, I get it, but also, like, how is that even possible? Like, why? Okay, it ended up working, but why? Like, it seems like you could easily, like, you know, let's say the facts of the case are different, and let's say, complete different scenario, different, you know, let's say it's somebody else also wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, and, you know, it was a very similar scenario, but the person was actually abused and didn't lie in the stand, and everyone was publicly on their side. Would the public be happy about the fact that the trial got moved to Virginia instead of being in California? Probably not. Like, whether or not, like, actually is legally tenable and socially allowable depends entirely on what you actually think individually about the case. I don't see any problems with lawyers earning a lot. Oh, no, to be fair, I don't think that, like, I'm not saying that lawyers aren't worth that much money, to be clear. I'm just saying, like, I know that and I said this earlier, but I'll say it again because somebody missed it apparently. Like, lawyers spend a lot of money to get their degrees. The law market has been very soft for a long time. It's very difficult to find a pathway into a high-paying career lawyering in the legal field because, like, there's sort of this pinnacle top percentage of people in law that make a shit ton of money, and then a lot of people that don't really make that much money at all, or make, like, very average incomes, you know, for people that are similarly levels of college educated. But it's about the fact that those services cost that much. That means that justice is inaccessible on a basic level to a lot of people. You know, and it's one thing if you're dealing with a criminal scenario and you can afford to, you know, you're going to get a public defense lawyer assigned to you because that's sort of the bare minimum. But, like, you know, if you're dealing with something civilly, if you want to pursue an action against somebody, that is such a huge financial burden that even if you do want to pursue justice, even if the facts are on your side, unless you are willing to spend years and years and years in the justice system, paying probably at minimum hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that, like, you're just shit out of luck. Like, and that's, you know, most people cannot afford that. That would be like if everyone in your entire family pitched together, you might be able to do it. And most people do not have the resources to do that. And that's the part I'm frustrated with, is that the way that we have constructed this system, results in a tiered system of justice, which makes justice accessible to a certain class of people more so than everyone equally. And that's the part that frustrates me. I think everyone should have, regardless of financial ability to pay, should be able to have their opportunity to pursue justice. But also, I do think if you're charging like $1,000 an hour, a lot of that is going to pay for your catered lunches and your golf trips, and not because you have student loan debt to pay off. Like, there gets to be a point where it's just excessive and just because you want to charge that much. Like, there's a difference between it's like, oh, well, I charge this much, but it's because I got to do these professional things and I got to pay for these secretaries in this office in this building, and then I got to have a notary retainer or that sort of thing. Like, I get why it gets to be expensive, but then it gets to be a point where if you're charging $2,000 an hour, is it because your time's really worth $2,000 an hour? Is that really the price of justice? I don't know. I do need to hydrate. I know. I don't have water up here with me, and I don't want to go all the way downstairs, so we're dealing with it. I'm pretty sure you could hire your own private investigator. But I don't think it normally works that you just gather a bunch of evidence in a folder and then handle it to a DA and go, can you charge this guy with something, please? I don't think that is normally how it works. Well, and doctors also have like a ton of liability insurance, so that's also part of it. Yes, everyone should take a moment to hydrate. In a just system, they'd all be state employees and no one would be paying for one rich or poor. That is a good point. And it should also be more affordable to be able to go to school. Like, that's also a big part of it as well, is if you are going to saddle people with, especially if you're going to a good law school, you are paying so much fucking money to do that. I know people who went to like, pretty top ranked law schools, and they're not cheap. They're not cheap. And then, of course, the wardrobe that is expected to be worn in trial and with clients, like, that also adds up, especially if you're a female attorney and you're expected to be fashionable, and like, it all just adds up at the end of the day. All just adds up. I get infuriated at all the lawyers who admit there's an access to justice problem yet still brag about how much they charge an hour. Yeah, well, it's hard to say no to money. Hard to say no. Noodly snaky bullshit is coincidentally enough a perfect expression of laws and profession. They posture as master logicians and paragons of law, but they are more like high priests. I mean, it depends on the lawyers, right? Like, I definitely have met lawyers, and I know people that, again, I have friends that went to law school, and they legitimately believe in wanting to get people justice, and that steered how they chose to pursue law as a profession. Like, they were like, I don't like the people I'm around at school. I'm not going to be like a civil litigator. I'm not going to be a criminal, like some power ace attorney. Like, I'm going to go into elder law, and I'm going to help people deal with the Social Security Administration and write wills. Like, they do stuff that is a general social good and is not necessarily about noodly snaky bullshit. Although there is a lot of lawyering that is noodly snaky bullshit, and it's part of having, I think, what Emily D. Baker would call enthusiastic enthusiastic legal representation or something. The part where you just like pursue whatever means necessary to prove your client's side of the facts, I suppose. Yeah. And again, like, sort of my point is that it's not really the actual outcome of the case that matters. Like, I think it is sort of interesting that people have a hard time parsing how the jury came to their decision, because I can parse it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see how, based on the way that facts were presented in court and how the instructions are written, how they came to the decision that they did end up coming to. But what actually ended up being the legal result is separate from the public reaction to it and the social media reaction to it and the way that people are interpreting the meaning of the results, which is that Me Too is a mistake, depending on which side you're on, right? It's like, Me Too is a mistake. We should just assume that women are liars. And everything, you know, it was a bad idea in the first place. And you can't trust anyone. And we should just go back to the old ways of things where we never believed anybody when they said that they were a victim of SA or domestic violence. Or if it did happen, they literally had to be walking around with a broken nose and missing teeth. Like, you know, like there's that side of it, which is people have decided that like even that no one should be trusted. Everyone is implicitly horrible. Women are big, bad, terrible liars that want to fuck up men's lives. Like, and it's terrible that this has gotten that publicity in that way where it's used as fuel to justify a very particular political persuasion of, you know, they sort of posture that they're, and this is another thing, is a lot of the legal people that were talking about the trial and had live streams had guests on that have been covering the Marilyn Manson allegations from the Marilyn Manson is completely innocent, all these women are crazy liars perspective, without apparently in any way vetting or caring about the fact that these people are avowed anti-feminists, anti-SJWs, like far-right people that, you know, do basically believe what I just said, which is like all women are liars, be suspicious of everyone. Like, it doesn't matter who is accused of anything. You could be fucking Jeffrey Epstein, Elon Musk, Hugh Hefner, Cuomo, fucking, what's his name? Alex Cuomo? What the fuck is his name? Whatever. Like Cuomo. It doesn't matter what man was accused of something. They will, by default, believe the man and assume the woman that is alleging anything is a liar and money hungry and a gold digger. And so they pretend that they're superior because, well, believe all women is stupid. I'm like, well, what you're doing is just believe all men. So like, what the fuck? How is that in any way a meaningfully different philosophy? Is instead of believe all women, it's assume everyone who's accused is innocent. Or not that. It's not even really about assuming they're innocent. It's just about like, because they don't talk about situations. For, I never heard any of them talk about Kevin Spacey, for example. Telling. But no, it's not. It's like they literally just go believe all men instead of believe all women. And it's like interesting that is somehow believe all women is the worst thing you could do and horribly illogical, but then you're just doing the same thing in the opposite direction. So how is that like in any way philosophically different? Yeah. Andrew Cuomo, sorry, not Alexander Cuomo, was so close. All of them, I find that hard to believe, even if the accused is famous. I mean, if you go through the track record of everyone that they've like, at least the videos that I've seen since they started making channels, let's believe all men because they believe Marilyn Manson, they believe Johnny Depp, they believe Andrew Cuomo, they believe Elon Musk, they believe Hugh Hefner. I don't know if they've necessarily covered Jeffrey Epstein, but I assume that they believe the accusations against Jeffrey Epstein are blown out of proportion, or mostly Ghislaine Maxwell's fault, or it was the way the women were all drug addicts anyway, so they got what was coming to them. Like probably some sort of bizarre roundabout way of thinking about what is a horrible track record of the worst kinds of sex crimes you could possibly imagine. You know. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. It's like just, again, it's just... So anyways, they would have these people on their channel and, like, legitimize them through connecting them with the live streams because it's like, well, everyone else on here is a professional attorney. They're practicing law. They're practicing psychotherapists and psychiatrists. And then you have a random YouTuber that is an anti-feminist that believes Marilyn Manson is innocent who is using that platform as a way to wedge in. And I've seen it happen. A lot of these lawyers are presupposing because of one random YouTuber's presence on a live stream that they've been kind of either had the snake whisper in their ear, you know, like in the Garden of Eden. I don't know, I'm talking about so many biblical references today, but it's like the snake in the Garden of Eden talking about like, hey, the Marilyn Manson situation's exactly the same. Amber Heard and Evan Rachel Wood are friends. And sort of like I don't know, like poisoning the well, I guess, before the case is even started, even though a judge isn't even going to see the defamation case against Evan Rachel Wood for like another year and a half. It's going to take, because it's in California, so it takes for forever. Yes, a zealous advocate. Thank you. Zealous advocate. That was the word. Yeah, it's very separating art from the artist is very much a big part of this conversation for sure. I just feel that rich people's problems are becoming a content to consume for poor people's entertainment. I mean, I feel like that's been the case for a long time. Rich people earning money from the attention or profit and publicity, or content creators, etc. I mean, that's, yeah, definitely. I think we definitely live in a social media age where everything is recorded, everything is talked about, everything's speculated on. I will point out that Johnny Depp was the one that very much pushed for this to be televised, so I don't necessarily feel bad for him as, somebody who is, at least in the public eye, most likely a victim, that, he had his trial televised because that is what he asked for, that is what his lawyers pushed for. He got what he wanted. And I am sure that he very much enjoyed getting the attention. I feel more bad when it's somebody like Britney Spears, who did not want this to be public in the way that it was public, did not want her life to be consumed in the way that it ended up being consumed, and it destroyed her for a lot of years as a result. So if it's something that the subject wants, great. If it's not, then like it can get to really fucked up inappropriate places very quickly. And I think it's important to be cognizant of that. How do I tell my girlfriend I want her to order me around and put strict rules on me so I can please her like she's my master? Well, you basically say that. Sorry, I can't see what your name is. Let me scroll down for a second here. All right, let's keep the name calling to a minimum here. I like to keep things nice and non-mean in my live streams. Thank you. But basically, you just say what you want, okay? Maybe don't quite say it like, I need you to be my master, but you can start the conversation. I have links to videos down below that you can check out where I do talk about, how you can introduce the concept of BDSM to a partner in a hopefully not super scary way. If you guys already have a relationship that involves being more open about talking about sex and pornography, you could totally share porn with her or share erotica. Erotica generally works better for most women on average as a starting point. Or you could just start really small and ask for, I'm assuming it's sexual, but if it's not, then maybe this advice won't work. But if you just share what your fantasies are and just do it in a very start gentle, don't unload completely everything all at once. But if you just kind of slowly work it in there and put feelers out towards the idea of hey, how does something like this seem to you? Do you find this kind of thing interesting? Really, really soft feelers out there. And if that seems positive or at least neutral, then you can go in farther. I don't necessarily recommend talking about all the details of your personal fantasies first before you know how she's going to react to it, which is why putting out feelers with porn, erotica, or even movies that have a strong, more dominant female character in them, even if it's not explicitly kinky or BDSM, I think that can also be a good sort of way to start those conversations. So, but when you get to a point where you've introduced the idea and it seems kind of more positive, then you can get more into and talk about it in a positive way. Don't make it be like, I have a horrible confession I need to tell you that I've been hiding from you for years. Have it be more like, hey, there's this thing that I'm really interested in trying with you that I think could be really fun. And I've been thinking about, it'd be really hot. It'd be really exciting for me if you wanted to order me around or be the boss in our relationship. How does that sound to you? And then there's all kinds of resources, all kinds of books, videos, online courses about being in a female-led relationship, being a femdom, being a female dominant. So yeah, it's not an easy thing necessarily. Not an easy thing necessarily, but it can be done. I am writing a book about BDSM, and I want to know what you think I could do differently than media like 50 Shades Secretary to better represent the BDSM community. Um, don't connect BDSM to mental health, trauma, or self harm. That's really the main thing. I could tell you how to write a story, but then it'd have to give you my ideas for the books I want to write. But the main baseline thing I think that I would really like to see in new media about BDSM would literally just be, don't make it the case that everyone who's into BDSM has like mommy issues or trauma or has a history of self-harm or got abused as a child or just came out of an abusive bad relationship. Like, people can just be normal, everyday, neurotypical ass people and be into BDSM. Not that it's bad to be somebody that is neurodivergent or somebody that has mental health issues and is part of BDSM. But I find it's really hard for vanilla people, if we're kind of doing this in terms of like representing the kink community, it's really hard, I think, to walk the line of having, especially if it's like a one-off movie or a one-off book or something, as opposed to building throughout a series. It's very difficult to have something where you introduce that a character has some kind of background issue or background history that's negative without the audience connecting to be like, oh, this is why they like BDSM. Like, you can have that conversation in person and in real life and go into the nuances of how things are connected or not connected or how things are healing or not healing or whatever. But when you're just trying to write a book and you're dealing with characters that, by virtue of the fact they're on a page, can't be as complex, that's when it gets complicated. I do. I have a wonderful idea, a couple of ideas actually, for, and I have notes for it written down somewhere, for BDSM erotica that is, we have stuff like, the Marketplace series. We have stuff like, which is why Laura Antonou. We have stuff like, Anne Rice Sleeping Beauty trilogy. We have stuff that represents, I think, very realistic BDSM fantasy on a high level. I want to write realistic, more everyday BDSM, of like the everyday fantasy of how a real BDSM relationship works, and having, I think, some of those elements that people, sort of what I was thinking of is like, okay, I'll take some of the elements that people really like reading in their erotica, which is really popular, having this, suave, handsome, leading man that maybe has some wealth and maybe kind of a mysterious background, and is kind of like quirky and dark and mysterious in certain ways. But then how do you make that more realistic? How do you make that relationship go in a more realistic way? Talking about what an actual dungeon looks like. Talking about people that actually have background experience doing BDSM, right? Having maybe a main character that maybe years ago in a college relationship experimented with BDSM, but didn't really find it really satisfying because she didn't necessarily have a lot of compatibility with the partner she was doing it with. Things along those lines where it can still be a little bit about like the new person kind of getting into BDSM with this, older, more experienced dominant partner, but kind of doing it in a way that more reflects the reality of most people's kink experiences and what it's actually like to do BDSM and have a power exchange relationship. So I have ideas. But who knows when I'm ever, maybe one day I'll get banned from YouTube and then I'll write a book. Only getting banned from YouTube will give me the time I need to write a book. But yes, I have ideas. Yes, definitely. There will be scars, blemishes, and flaws. Definitely. And again, kind of walking that line with like, I have this terrible traumatic past. That's why I'm into BDSM. Not doing that, but making the people be real and showing what it's like. There's the scene in 50 Shades of Grey where it's like, Anna's like, I want to see how bad it can get. And then Christian's like, okay. And then he does it because he's an idiot. And then she hates it and runs away and leaves him. And it's like, okay, how do we make that more realistic? How can we show people what actually happens when a scene goes bad? And then, or a secret comes out that damages the trust in the relationship. How do you rebuild from that? Not just this dramatic flailing and horrible things going wrong, but like, again, more grounded in realism, but having those common fantasy elements that a lot of people like. Yeah, no creepy stalker stuff. There'll be no stalking. There'll be no watching anybody while they sleep. There will be no dossiers. It'll just be a normal, maybe a little bit of Facebook stalking. Maybe a little bit about like, I gotta see if this guy's secretly married. I'm gonna find his Facebook page. But like, that's it. Does anyone even use Facebook anymore? Probably not. Any ideas for long distance kink play? My daddy is really into puppy play. I'm getting into it, and I'm into pain play and age play. Well, that is awesome. I am super glad that you are experimenting with long distance kink. As it notes in the FAQ, I don't generally give advice on long distance kink relationships because I don't have experience doing that. That's outside of my realm of expertise because I don't mentally connect with BDSM generally long distance. But if anyone in the chat has advice they want to share for something similar to that, I think that would be awesome. I'll read out your responses. My general advice is that we have so much technology these days between FaceTime and Zoom and video calls and voice to text and being able to send audio recordings over Telegram and and there's all kinds of apps and habit trackers. There's so many things you can use long distance to kind of close that gap of distance. So whether that be, doing a video chat where you have your gear on and your partner is giving you commands for like trick training for puppy play, or they're giving you orders to spank yourself or flog yourself, or, you're doing a video chat like while you're making dinner in little space or something. Like there's all kinds of ways that you can incorporate that. And I think video is really, really, really helpful for that. But don't, overlook things like text things. Don't overlook using apps and habit trackers. There are so many tools for long distance kink play at this point that, it's never going to be exactly like doing it in person, but there's a lot more possibilities than I think people give credit to, I suppose. What about call girls? What? When did that come up on the thing? If you don't write a book, I'll be very disappointed. I mean, I'm sure I will. Like, I love writing. It'll definitely happen. I just don't know when. Or at least I'll try to make it happen. How about that? Because I don't know what the book market's going to be like. I don't even know. Maybe it's not even going to be legal to publish a book about this subject material in 5 years. Who the fuck knows at this point, honestly? Because, I want to be able, I want to have, I want polyamory to be part of the book series. I want open relationships to be part of the book series. I want queer relationships to be part of the book series. I want queer identity to be in the book. It's not necessarily going to be, the main, again, I don't want to go fucking, who knows what the book's actually going to turn out to be like. But, the idea I have in my head is, for example, the picture I have in my head is the dominant male partner. I want to be a bisexual man. I want a fucking bi-male representation. It's fucking happening. My God. That is I want there to be exploration of that, because I think that's probably out of anything, it's one of the most underrepresented groups in queer literature and just talking about the queer experience. Yeah. The only time they watch them sleep is when they go to bed together. Okay, as far as the stalking goes and watching people fall asleep, if it's an age player and you're doing a role-playing scene where it's time to go to bed and it's read me a story before bedtime and tuck me in, then it's fine. Then that's okay. But not before, only then. Yeah, I try not to raise my voice often because I don't want to kill the microphone and your ears at the same time, but sometimes I get passionate about things. No, you have not missed much. Actually, you know what? It can be really funny. There are parts of the movie that are funny if you go into it not taking it seriously. If you want to be seriously mad at it, you can be, but that's not fun. Don't emotionally torture yourself, Listen, male emotional vulnerability is highly underrated. You finally made it on a plane. Well, congrats, Mom. I hope that you have a safe flight and that you escaped the airport. That is sometimes the hardest part. Oh, I do have lip gloss. Man, I'm going to go downstairs after the stream is done, and I'm going to drink a smoothie, and I'm going to have some water. It's going to be awesome. I actually finished editing a video today, and that was such a good feeling. I was like, oh my god, I am capable of being productive again. Amazing. Worst part of the move so far. I mean, not having internet for a while sucked. I would say it was probably that, and then the fridge leaking. That sucked. Having the fridge leak was bad. Bandit loves it, though. She loves every part of it. She's like, I have a yard, there's squirrels, I get to run around outside all day whenever I want to. She'll play outside for hours and hours and hours. She loves it. She loves it so much. I still haven't unpacked from 5 years ago and I'm moving again. I mean, Sunrise, that's just planning. That's just good planning. I do actually want to get fully unpacked, though. That is actually a goal that I have. I'm not sure if you have a video covering this, but do you have advice for how to go about going to munches? Is there a protocol for asking for permission or introduction? Munches, I mean, it depends on the munch, but all the ones that I've been to are all really super casual. Like, they don't have any kind of protocol to them. They're literally just people hanging out at a bar, hanging out at a restaurant. Oh my god, I accidentally said I'm streaming on Twitch. That's why everyone's confused. That explains why everyone was mentioning Twitch earlier, is because I wasn't actually on Twitch. My bad. I normally only link to my streams when I'm on Twitch, which is like, I just automatically said that because I wasn't paying attention. But no, they're usually really chill. It's normally not something where I have to ask permission. It's just like normal social politeness, normal, just, don't be rude, don't assume titles. Don't try to do anything BDSM related at the venue. Don't call somebody sir or mommy or daddy or whatever. Just, be like, hi, I'm new here. My name's blah, blah, blah. I moved here. I've been around blah, 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 however much time you lived in the area. And I'm super excited to be part of this community. What's going on? And then just get into a conversation. It's not really that different than meeting in any other social context. There's not really any sort of special rules. Or there shouldn't be. And if there are, that's a little bit of a red flag. I do have videos where I've talked about going to munches, though, and finding events. So if you haven't seen those, I don't know if they're linked down below, but definitely search on the channel for them. Just type munch in the search bar and it should pop up. Basically, you just hang out. And, if you want some advice for easy socializing, have a pin bag that has nerdy pins on it, wear a shirt, I'm wearing a Witcher shirt right now, wear a shirt or something that has something that's affiliated with media you like, or a series or an anime or a video game, something that you can start a conversation around and is an easy thing you can talk about that's not just hey, what are you into, BDSM wise, Because I don't think a lot of people really go to munches to talk about what their kinks are, so much as it is just socializing around people that understand all aspects of your life that you don't have to hide things from when they come up, What the fuck? Is there a what is a Discord too? Twitter is telling me there's a Discord too? This feels like a late April Fool's joke. Is this real? Does anyone know what's going on with Discord too? What's happening? This sounds like a trick. It sounds like a trickery trick. I'm planning new meet and greets, hoping to attract new people, but not sure how to signal past saying wear this color, meet it as us at X location. I mean, so you say signal. I mean, generally you'd post an event on FetLife and that would be the signaling. But, people often maybe wear a lanyard or a name tag or something and it says, hey, our event organizers are going to be wearing purple lanyards. So look for the people wearing purple lanyards. Like something really easy to see and sort of innocuous, I think is easy and simple. So munches are like a chance to connect to people in a local scene not really set up for their dates. Yes, they are primarily casual social events, just going to hang out, talk about your week, talk about plans for the weekend, catch up. You know, it's very, very casual. There are definitely munch-like events you can go to that are more like speed dating focused, that are more about meeting people for play, but munches aren't really about, you know, I mean, they can't, like, if there's a munch that's planned, you might decide, if you've been talking to somebody else somewhere else, you might decide that going to a munch that's already being organized is a good way to meet in person together for the first time if you've been talking over FetLife, and then just like is a good neutral supervised place to meet up first before kind of talking about anything further in terms of play plans. But it's not really a speed dating event or like a way to find partners. I'm sure people do find partners through munches, but it's not really about that. It's a lot. It's more just general community as opposed to like looking for hot singles in your area, you know. Although there are other events that are much more like that. I don't think there is a Discord too. Well, Discord on Twitter tweeted out Discord too. So that may have just, maybe that was some kind of mistake with like a software update. I don't know. Any advice for introducing pet play stuff to other kinky folks who are curious but not familiar with it? That's an interesting question. I think how I would introduce it would depend on what the other person's kink interests are. Because if they're really into like latex, then I would introduce in like latex paw pads or latex hoods, or you know, other bondage equipment if they're really into bondage, like crawler gear, walking on all fours. You know, like incorporating other people's existing kink interests, I think, is the easiest way to introduce a new kink. So if they're let's see, latex, there's bondage. If they're really into sensation, maybe that might be introducing, you know, it depends on kind of what gear you wear, right? But it could be introducing, you know, a neoprene hood or a faux fur jacket or a fur tail or faux fur ears, and like, you know, introducing like the way that different sensations can be used in pet play. If they're really into service, it might be through like talking about how you can use pet play as like a form of service, like learning different tricks or learning how to fetch items or, you know, answer the door, things like that, like how you can incorporate those kind of other kinks into that. If you mean more in like a demonstration capacity in terms of like introducing people to what it looks like, I mean, there's all kinds of YouTube videos. But I would really just kind of talk about, I think, bringing it back to the motivations that connect a lot of kinky people, regardless of what kinks it is that they do, I think can be really helpful. You know, talking about, you know, the reason I'm really into pet play is because it allows me this, you know, really deep level of escape. I don't have to worry about everyday life problems. I feel super connected to my partner. It helps me feel super submissive and pliable. I love getting to have fun with my partner. It allows me to explore this really fun, creative role play headspace. You know, whatever it is for you, but I think kind of bringing it to that space of like, this is why it is what I do, to allow people to go, oh, that's why I like this other thing that I do. And so we're not so different, even if the way that we're doing it is different. Or they might hear, you know, oh, you know, I'm a masochist and I love the escapism that masochism offers. And you're telling me that pet play is also about escapism? How can those two things be similar? Tell me more. And I find that tends to be pretty successful for people, regardless of what the kink is, not just with pet play, but really explaining any kind of kink. A lot of people, I think, respond really well to sort of hearing those connecting threads between many different types of BDSM activities. All right, we got 10 minutes left. This is your 10-minute warning, everyone. Ask your question now if you ever hold your peace. And I apologize if I missed your question because I talked about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp for a long time. So whoopsie doodle on that. Just support. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Annika Star, I believe. Thank you. Glad you all could make it. I was worried after being gone for so long that no one would show up. But this has actually been a really good stream, and I'm super grateful. I want to know what it was like for you to be a Switch. I am not a Switch, so I don't know why that. Like how I can answer that question. I'm not a Switch. That's not a label I think really works for me. I am a sadist, but I don't really identify as like a top or a dominant when I switch. I just don't necessarily mind like hurting people. Like I definitely like I don't again subjectively you might decide to call what I do sometimes very occasionally to be switching, but mentally I don't feel like I'm a switch. Like I don't feel like it's equal enough or separate enough to consider it to be switching. If that makes sense. They can always ask again next time. That's true. You can always ask during another Friday night live stream, which is every Friday at 6, usually, most of the time. Things that was helpful. I'm moving to a place without much of a pet play scene, but the people I've talked to there are curious about it. Yeah, well, good luck in your journey to indoctrinate people into the ways of pet play. I am sure that there will be many, many people who find it very fun. How to promote an event? Would you connect with all the kinky people who are not on FetLife? Facebook ads. I think most people just do FetLife. You can do Eventbrite. You can do things that are like, event and activity websites. Those are a little bit more complicated to set up, but I know that people do, like, especially for classes, a lot of people use Eventbrite. I've used it before. You can also do, I know people have like BDSM Facebook groups or BDSM Discord chats, and you can advertise in those depending on the rules of the group. But I probably wouldn't do Facebook ads. Can you do that for events? Can you advertise an event on Facebook? I don't know. I think if it's like a local Facebook group for like, Kinksters of Boston, I don't know. I'm not sure what a Facebook group for that would be called. But, I think primarily most people only just use FetLife. But, there are probably other alternatives. Do you have any particular kink you enjoyed most? I am new to the field myself. What I've sort of enjoyed most over the years has definitely changed. I would say that my like primary like enduring interests tend to be like bondage and sensation. I really like pet play. Definitely really enjoy bondage. Masochism is kind of hit or miss for me. Power exchange definitely for sure. But there's so many different broad areas of kink, and I'm at least open to exploring so many different things. And by the way, I've just been fiddling this whole time because I don't know how to live stream anymore. So I'm like, ooh, I have a mirror cleansing wipe. I'm just gonna clean my makeup mirror while I talk. Cleaning ASMR, cleaning visual ASMR time. Service, actually, speaking of cleaning, service is something I very, very much enjoy. Degradation, I'm very much somebody that enjoys a wide variety of kinks, and everyone is going to be that way. A lot of people just have like one or two kinks they're really, really into. They're only into spanking, they're only into latex, they're only into age play, and that's totally fine as well. It's all fine and dandy. It's been so long since I've been able to go to one of your streams. Yeah, I am so glad you could make it. Thank you. Tomorrow I'm going to be to my town's pride during the day, and in the evening to the munch, which is a picnic with Kink friends. Oh, that's so awesome! Having a picnic sounds really fun. I love picnics. Have fun at the pride event. I haven't even looked, because I've had COVID, I haven't even looked at like what pride events are maybe going on near me at all. I am sure there are a ton. I have no idea what they are, but have fun. That sounds like a good time. Hopefully There will be good food. I hope there's watermelon. I'm really in the mood for watermelon right now. I'm like 10% thinking about streaming, 90% thinking about watermelon. Not really. But I do have watermelon in the freezer. I got like a watermelon, not a smoothie bowl. I don't know what it is exactly. It's like watermelon and mango and stuff. It's going to be good. So tasty. Yes, please have fun. Have fun on my behalf because I'm probably going to stay home because I have COVID. I'm actually not sure if I would still test positive if I tested for it or not. I should probably figure that out. I just like, it's like $20 to get 2 COVID tests. And it's like, why are these free everywhere? Why can't I just walk into a pharmacy and get a free COVID test? There's no way they cost $10 a piece to produce. That just doesn't make sense. The trials and tribulations of stuff. Okay, did I miss any questions? I feel like I skipped over something by accident. I'm trying to find it. Okay, the advertising. Kink I enjoy the most. If I may ask, if headgear is too intense, would face paint be on the table? Oh yeah, people totally do face paint for pet play. People with face paint, body paint, definitely headgear can be too intense. Wearing a collar or just wearing like ears on a headband can be sort of a less intense way to introduce stuff like that as well. But the thing is you have to make sure it's face paint that's not going to rub off onto all of the furniture. That's the primary thing. Yes. And it's also like different hoods come in different levels of extremeness. You can even get like a mask, not like this mask, but like this mask, where it's around the eye area, but your mouth and your nose and your head's all completely open, but it is kind of going over your eye area, even though you completely have your own vision. So lots of alternatives to wearing things on the head that aren't like a full-on total sensory deprivation kind of mask experience. I think I might have heard a dog. Un momento, por favor. I will retrieve the dog. Potentially. Is there a little dog? Oh my gosh, there's a little dog. Oh my gosh, there you are. Hi, I miss you so much. Were you downstairs? Where were you? Hi, I'm going to take off your collar, and then we're going to go say hello to the people. They wanted to see you so badly. Hi. Here's my beautiful girl. She has a little chicken leg because she got dental cleaning and they had to shave her fur to put IV in for dental cleaning. And so now you have chicken leg. You have chicken leg. Are you chicken girl? You are chicken girl. Whoa. Hi, sweetheart. I love you. Oh, so snuggly. It's a pretty girl. Yes, definitely. Look for movies that have strong female lead characters in them. I can't think of any off the top of my head because I'm bad at watching movies. If that's even a thing you can be bad at. But if people have recommendations, put them in the comments. It is the Bandita. It is the Miss Bandita Barita. You knew right when my stream was going to end because you are smart, girl. Are you wet? Were you outside? Oh. I know. I was holding you kind of funny, wasn't I? I know you're such a good girl. Oh, sweet girl. Alien, Captain Marvel, okay. Hi. Oh, sleepy girl. You are so sweet. You're such a cute girl. Yes. Who is the puppy in charge? This is my dog Bandit. She's the puppy in charge. I know. I know. It is 8 o'clock, isn't it? It's probably time to say goodbye, huh? It's probably time to say goodbye. Too sad. I wish you guys could have seen her running down the hallway. She was so sweet. I know, little puppy kisses. Little puppy kisses. I've never had a dog that's given kisses before, but she likes to, she's obsessed with licking hands, specifically my hands. She loves licking hands, and occasionally if you have something tasty on you, like she loves lip gloss and she loves lotion. If you put lotion on your body, she will not stop licking you. She's just like, that's tasty. Don't eat my lotion. Don't eat lotion, it's bad for you. And yet she tries. Sarah Connor, yeah, for sure. Seeing Bandita makes me so happy. I had a pet pass away Monday, so this makes me a little happier. Aw, I'm very sorry. That is, having a pet pass away is like, people underestimate. That's just hard. Like emotionally, people are like, oh, whatever, just get a new one. No, there's no, so you can't just get a new one. I couldn't replace this dog. Impossible. She's a Pomeranian. Oh my gosh, you got a Malinois puppy? Oh my gosh, is it gonna have like really big paws and be like super awkward? Like German Shepherd puppies? Oh my gosh. All right. You're hiding your face under the desk. I don't think you're supposed to do that. Hi. All right. Well, we're going to go, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I am still trying to catch up on stuff, so I'm not sure exactly when my next video is going to go live. It might be tomorrow, and if it's not tomorrow, it'll be on Sunday. But I will have a video before the week is done. That's our promise, isn't it? That's our promise. And Bandita does not make promises she can't keep. Promise number 1, destroy all squirrels. Promise number 2, new video this weekend. Those are her promises. This has been a political advertisement. Elect Bandit for governor of Earth. I don't know. Love and Leashes. Yes. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. Yes. Love and Leashes might actually be a really good video for you to, not video, but movie. Maybe preview watch it a little bit. It is in Korean, so keep that in mind. They may have an English dub. I'm actually pretty confident they have an English dub. Oh, good girl. Okay, everyone. If I didn't get to your question, I'm so sorry. We do stream every Friday at 6 for 2 hours. So from 6 to 8 o'clock my time. That starts at 9 o'clock on the East Coast. And I think it starts at like 1 a.m. or midnight in the UK. I think. Somewhere around in there. But anyways, that is, I know, licking the hand again. Yes, peace, love, and pose. Peace, love, and pose. Until next time. We will see you all very soon. Stay safe. I'm going to drink some water and eat some watermelon and just water. Just hydrate. Just hydrate. Vitamin C. Hydrate. Stay safe. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye. She's not a cat. She's a dog.